To say that Mickey Mouse is a success would be quite an understatement. Like his predecessor before him, the main mouse became an overnight sensation, winning the hearts of children and adults alike, and it's easy to see why. The Mickey cartoons were unlike any other in their time. They were lively and endearing, but more importantly, they were among the first to really make use of the accompanying music. A lot of the animation in these shorts coincide perfectly with the score, which made for some really interesting and entertaining visuals that took advantage of the animated medium. As for Mickey himself, contrary to the claims about him that say he's one-dimensional, he's actually really not. At least, he wasn't always like that. He wasn't always the goody two-shoes he's often painted as in recent times. In fact, he was quite the troublemaking delinquent back in the day, especially during the black and white era. He smokes, uses firearms, is astonishingly cruel to animals, and is something of a lech. Take this scene from Plain Crazy as an example. Real smooth, Mick. Now keep it in your pants, please. And of course, who could forget this little gem? So yeah, Mickey's done his fair share of deeds that you wouldn't expect from a protagonist or a hero. Yet he was still the protagonist, and we still loved and rooted for him anyway. But as successful as Mickey was, there was an underlying problem that would rear its ugly head in the later shorts. For being such a beloved cartoon character, he really has no clear-cut character per se. His mischievous streak aside, almost everything about him is nondescript. Mickey is a textbook example of the everyman. Solid, well-rounded qualities, with none of them truly standing out. A jack of all trades, if you will. Now at first this wasn't too much of an issue. Hell, I even think that Mickey's everyman status meant that he was versatile, and he could work in any situation he's thrown in. Sadly, there's only so much you can do with a character archetype like this. The animators and writers seemed to realize this, as by the time that the 30s rolled in, they were fresh out of ideas with what to do with him. How ironic that one of animation's biggest icons is a paradoxically, essentially dull character. Luckily, the team had Mickey's co-stars to fall back on. Donald Duck, Goofy, and Pluto all took the spotlight and the animation realm by storm, giving us timeless team-up hits like Clock Cleaners, The Band Concert, Moving Day, Lend a Paw, and Mickey's Trailer. These shorts may have been billed as Mickey shorts, and he did appear in them, but again, he didn't stand out compared to his three pals, who really carried these shorts on their shoulders. That's because they had actual personalities. Donald is fiery and hot-tempered, Goofy is what he is, and Pluto's curiosity almost always lands him in bizarre, yet interesting scenarios, which is naturally funnier than Mickey on his own. And Pluto's not even an anthro like the other three, he's just your typical four-legged cartoon animal. Mickey Mouse being whitewashed into a total saint was because he was Disney's icon, and the company wanted to ensure that they had someone who can reflect their family-oriented focus properly. As I said, however, this hasn't always worked out, and the character in his shorts suffered as a result. The real question, however, is was it really completely the company's fault this whole time? Those of you out there who answer yes, you're a bunch of morons. No, that's too mean. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. For those of you who point the finger at Disney alone for what Mickey had turned into, you need to keep in mind the when and the why. There are other significant factors that play into Mickey's alterations besides the company he represents. This is the early 20th century we're talking about after all. This was a time when World War II was fought. This was a time when the world was subject to the Great Depression. And this was when the typical budget put into cartoons was far beyond what studios can manage. It was also the time when the Motion Picture Production Code came into effect, regulating what was and wasn't allowed in film, and thereby putting a pressure on filmmakers and, to an extent, cartoonists. At best, the contents of a film and even a cartoon short were altered in accordance to what was outlined in the code. At worst, entire series were killed altogether, like the Betty Boop cartoons. Certain series, namely Tom and Jerry and the Looney Tunes, get a pass because their respective creators specifically stated that they originally intended them to be for an adult audience. But that doesn't exactly stop children from watching them, does it? As far as Mickey Mouse is concerned, the team behind his cartoons had no choice but to adhere to the code. Mickey would go on to make more theatrical appearances, but eventually his peers became the true stars. If anything, he'd be the one riding off of their coattails. And apart from a select few, none of his standalone shorts were anything to write home about. Mickey was finally retired as a cartoon character in 1953 with his last theatrical short, The Simple Things. Disney would make attempt after attempt at reviving their treasured rodent, but like many of the later shorts, they too were met with failure. Okay, I wouldn't say all of them are utter failures. On one hand, I thought Runaway Brain was amazing, but on the other, that stupid Clubhouse show just won't end. Mickey in Kingdom Hearts is all kinds of awesome, but at the same time, his epic Mickey incarnation is held back by a hit-and-miss romp on the Nintendo Wii. I don't know, it's a mixed bag, it really is. I could go on and on about this, but simply put, it's been a rough ride for Mickey Mouse. I guess we'll always have our Mickey and Gang merchandise, and I guess we'll always see his name slapped onto some other famous franchise or series or whatever. But it just won't be the same not seeing him in his animated glory once again. Fortunately, it looks like things just might change for the better. A long-term better. Or will they? You can never know.